that's so a guy named Satoshi Nakamoto. No one really knows much about him. No one knows who it is, if it was a group of people, who it was. In their white paper, 8 pages of what is Bitcoin that they put out before Bitcoin even went live. It was that crash of 2008. They're like, hey, we designed this because of the crash of 2008. Central banks, we bailed out the wrong people. We bailed out the big banks. We bailed out the, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and we bailed out the wrong people. So they come up with a digital currency that is person-to-person transaction, proof of work, meaning if you transact with me, 30 other people are validating that transaction, and it has a limited supply. The supply is only put out when people work and they validate those transactions, and every 4 years the supply is halved. So instead of quantitative easing, which is where the Fed's just printing, it's like quantitative hardening. They're actually cutting that supply. And we've seen over the time of Bitcoin being out, every 4 years, and in this cycle, it has huge returns. And it's because that supply gets halved. When supply gets cut, demand goes up. And then when you couple that with the dollar, and the dollar continues to lose value, not only do you have an asset that's raising in just value in and of itself, now you're pairing it against the dollar, so the dollar's losing value, and Bitcoin's going up. It's going up in 2 different reasons. One, because it's just a hard asset. It's a limited supply. Number 2, you're pairing it against the dollar.
Yeah.
Bitcoin could go to $1 million.
Yeah.
It could go to 10 million, 20 million. It doesn't matter.
Well, it could this year because
Yes.
how many dollars do you produce?
Exactly. 2 trillion is only what they say. 2 trillion is what Congress approves. But by the time you look at the Fed's balance sheet, that 2 trillion is nothing. Last year, the Fed's balance sheet doubled.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's debt for us. That's debt for our kids. It's really debt for the world. I mean, the United States runs the world.
Well, and that's kind of we're kind of veering off again,
Yeah.
but it's kind of interesting that we print fake dollars and send it to other countries, and they send us real stuff and we consume it,
Yeah.
refrigerators and things like that. So essentially it is making the world poorer by us doing the monetary system that we have.
Yeah.
I think let's back up a little bit with Bitcoin, because this was the hardest thing for me to get my head around is like, okay, white paper, proof of work, da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? You go down that and you're going, well, I'm still in the mindset of, okay, a house has value, gold has value. This seems like a video game thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, so the white paper itself, if I understand it, and I've read through it, it's pretty interesting to read, is a software. Well, so it outlines what its purpose is and everything else, but it's a protocol.
Yeah.
So it's a protocol that, and there again, it's hard to understand why this would have value, but it's a protocol that is in cyberspace, but it's networked up with a bunch. So there's a whole network around the world that is keeping up this ledger, basically. It's like I write down how much Bitcoin I have, and then everybody else in the room writes down how much Bitcoin I have. And then if me and you switch 1 Bitcoin, then everybody writes that down.
Yeah.
And when that happens, it gets formed into blocks, right?
Yeah.
And that's the work that goes on, is everybody is working to do that. And
That's the blockchain. So when you hear blockchain, it's because all of that work gets put into blocks.
yeah. And then one of the people working to keep up that blockchain gets paid a fee for that, right?
Yeah.
So was it 16 and now it's 8 or something like that? I can't remember what the numbers is. I haven't looked at the numbers for a while.
So I believe in the last halving,
I'm trying to think what
Yeah.
Anyway,
Anyways,
I don't even know.
It's yeah.
Say it was 16 per block of work before, and I don't, like I said, I don't know if there's the actual number or not. But so now after the halvening, that same amount of work only gets 8
Yeah.
of whatever it is, 8 units of Bitcoin, whatever.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be 8 Bitcoin, but it'd be sweet.
Yeah.
So it gets halved. So now, just because of that, there's going to be less circulating supply, and which is going to cause the value to go up. Also, I guess on top of that is all the Bitcoin that's been lost.
Which isn't even talked about.
Yeah. So wasn't it the max that was going to get produced was 21 million, about something like that?
And
So
that's fixed. That'll never change. There will only be 21 million ever produced.
yeah, and so there again, that's all written into a protocol, which is kept up on a blockchain, and that's what gives it the value.
Yeah.
Is the ability to transact in something that's fixed.
Yes. Now, I don't want to be completely naive to the fact that if we had this massive global crisis, let's say a meteor hits anywhere, France. I just don't want to throw a country under the bus.
Yeah.
It hits France, and global catastrophe. I don't want to be blind to the fact that maybe at that point blockchain actually wouldn't have that much value. You know, gold, silver, wood, because you can hold it and it's there.
Mm-hmm.
But barring any like crazy catastrophe that I hope never happens, it's just going to continue in value because you have the money printing and you have the fixed supply. Now Bitcoin was the first that caught traction. So they come up with the white paper. They actually transacted in Bitcoin, really just like a bunch of nerds on the computer for like a year and a half before it was ever even given value. So they were proving for a year and a half or 2 years that this could work. This could be a digital currency that works. And then finally someone says, hey, I want 2 pizzas. And I'm willing to pay 10,000 Bitcoin for those 2 pizzas. Now at the time, Bitcoin still had no value. It was just a bunch of nerds that were trading it. So someone's like, hey, I'll take you up on that. Gets 2 Papa John's pizzas delivered to this guy, and the guy sends him 10,000 Bitcoin.
Wasn't it like even somebody wasn't it different continents?
I don't know.
I think I saw something, where it was like they were on different continents, I think, and made the transaction, which is kind of cool because it really leads into what I think the big value is of it.
Which is time and space, correct?
Yeah, well, and transportability, I guess, would that be a word? Just say, to me, I think the big aha moment was, say I want to move to another country and I have a vault full of gold and I want to take that with me, and it's $1 million of gold. That takes a lot of effort, a lot of money, a lot of,
And you have to declare it in customs.
Yeah, you have to declare it and pay probably some taxes from the country you're coming from, and there's just a whole lot of stuff. With Bitcoin, you can have that on your cell phone. You actually don't even need to have it on your cell phone. As long as you have your keys and your seed phrase, you can have it in your brain and move anywhere in the world, and boom, you have your $1 million of wealth with you.
Yeah. I think we understand this enough that when we're talking, we say seed phrase, and people are like, what the crap is a seed phrase?
Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. So people will say in the cryptocurrency space, not your keys, not your Bitcoin. So you actually have private keys. It's a passphrase that's usually 12 to 20 words, and I might have a password. I think we even talked about password last time. Mm-hmm. But a passphrase or the keys, if it's in your brain or it's written down somewhere and no one can ever see it, it's unhackable. It's so, the statistics to actually hack that would be too out there. You can't do it. Mm-hmm. So you can actually own your Bitcoin by knowing your passphrase, and that's why we go to Mexico. I have all of our cryptocurrency with us because we have the passphrases or the passcodes or whatever it is. So that's what it is. If someone's like, hey, what's a seed phrase? You just know your phrase, which is connected to your cryptocurrency, and so you own it.
And so we could talk about this too. Right here is the difference between an exchange and a wallet.
Yeah.
Because the seed phrase and keys are just associated with a wallet, right? So you would go to, say, Coinbase or Kraken or whatever exchange you want, and that's where you would purchase. You exchange dollars or yen or euros or whatever for Bitcoin or any other crypto that they have on there. It's still not technically in your wallet. You have to move it from that exchange out into a wallet, and there's a ton of different wallets. That's when it becomes solely your responsibility, really, to take care of those seed phrases, and keys and all of that stuff, so that it's there.
And that's where you hear about people throwing their computer away that had thousands of Bitcoin on it, and they lost all these millions of dollars. Really, they lost their nerdy Bitcoin back in the day before they knew that it was going to have any value.
Yeah.
Now that's actually a positive. It's a real big negative for those who have thrown their laptops away when they didn't know that it was going to have value. But for anyone else that's getting into the space, when you say 21 million max supply, but 5 million of those have been lost, that's like you have taken 10% of the gold or 20% of the gold and you've jolted it out in the universe and you can never get it back.
Yeah.
It increases the value. And people don't even know what has been lost. So I feel for everyone who's lost it, but at the same time, it's just going to increase the value.
Yeah. Well, and I think too, like with the losing it thing, this is kind of cool too. Kind of cool and scary to me. So say that guy that lost his laptop. Well, he could have those Bitcoin back if he just knew his seed phrase for his wallet. Yep. He could probably get it on his cell phone now.
Yeah.
Just, download that wallet, put in your seed phrase, and up it comes. So I think that's the other cool thing too that people don't understand is like, oh, well, what if I lose my phone? That's got all my stuff on it. Well, no, it doesn't. Your seed phrase and your keys do, and get another phone and download the wallet and upload it and you're good to go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool that way.
So because crypto is kind of like the ultimate in fixed supply and interpersonal transactions and everything, businesses have latched onto it and they go, hey, I'm gonna make money off of this. And a big one is liquidity. So they want to be able to have enough crypto on their exchange in order to be able to freely transact. And in doing so, they're able to earn enough money on people and transaction fees that they can actually pay interest now. So we actually keep a lot on an exchange, even though it's not technically as secure. We choose to because we make a decent amount of interest on it. USDC, which is tied to the dollar. So
that's just a coin, right?
Yep, it'll only ever be $1 because it's just $1 in. $1 is one USD coin, so one. Mm-hmm. But it earns 8.5% interest.
That's awesome.
It's nuts. We put it in the bank, you lose money because of inflation and whatever else, money printing, quantitative easing. 8.5%. That's huge.
Yeah.
People are dying for 8.5% interest. So we actually keep it on exchanges. We earn 5% Bitcoin, 5% Ethereum. So we choose that. Now, Cardano is another one we can get into. We keep that one on a hard wallet. Like we keep that because that's our largest holding. Want to be careful with it. But at the same time, we get staking rewards. This is a lot. There's so much. This could be like a 5-hour episode.
So, but keeping it on an exchange and getting interest on it, I guess that could be kind of more like a bank account. You could, for people that are like trying to wrap their head around this and everything, like that's kind of a bank account. You whatever, access it the same as a bank account or whatever, password, username. The wallet would be maybe more like taking it you're taking your dollars out